everyone, welcome back to another vlog. This week I wanted to do a cozy sit down chat. I wanted to have quite a bookish chat this week. I get a lot of questions about the best books to read when people are first getting into simple living, slow living, minimalism, whatever you want to call it. It's got so many different names, and each obviously has its own character, but you know, basically from people who are wanting to live a little bit more mindfully, a little bit slower paced, and a little bit more intentionally, and more from the inside out, as opposed to living from the outside in, so being intuition led. So I'm going to share my favourite books for you, if that is you, or if you're already, further along and you're wanting to just learn and read more. I'm going to share my personal favourite books because I can remember what it feels like to be really hungry, thirsty for that kind of knowledge. So hopefully this will help and you will find this useful. This week's vlog is sponsored by Skillshare, and I will talk a little bit more about them later on, but big thank you to them for sponsoring this vlog. Okay, so the first one is a recent read, actually. If you follow me on Instagram, or I think I've talked about them on here as well quite a lot, and I share the School of Life in my Substack letters, but this is A Simpler Life by the School of Life. The School of Life is one of my favourite go-to brands. It's led by Alain de Botton, who is like a philosopher, so clever and so innovative and forward-thinking, and so his ideas, suggestions, research findings, whatever you want to call it, is very psychology based. And yeah, as someone who's been through therapy, I find that super fascinating. I picked this book up when I was in London earlier this year. I read it super quickly. It's a fantastic book, and it's not your usual simple living minimalism kind of book. It covers the psychology, the philosophy. It very much goes back in time as well, which I find really, really interesting. And it really gets to the crux of what simple living and minimalism should be all about. It does have how-to parts in it as well, like how to travel less, how to do social media. It touches on wardrobes and things like that, but it mainly touches on the foundations and the philosophy behind simple living and slower living, more intuitive living. Not in a heavy kind of way though. It's not I'm making it sound really intellectual. It's not like the kind of thing you'd find in an academic kind of library. It's like an academic book, but made simple, made digestible. I read it really, really quickly. I found it so interesting, and I think it is one that you would most definitely enjoy. And I will leave a link to all of these books in the description. This book I read a long time ago now. I read this in the very beginning of my path, I would say. This is L'Art de la Simplicité, written by Dominique Leroux. Sorry if I've not pronounced that properly. Anything that comes from France for me is usually a winner. This is a very feminine and female focused book in terms of minimalism and simple living. She touches on wardrobe, she touches on beauty, she touches on aesthetics. It's very, very beautiful, really solid, simple to digest advice, and yeah, the kind of thing, again, a very quick, easy kind of read with loads and loads of tips in here. How to live more with less. It really helps to reframe your mindset. It did for me, and it's one that has stuck around on my shelf ever since I have read it. I think it's an international bestseller, and it's definitely one to add to the list, especially if you're interested in that aesthetic side of things. I'm always really cautious. Like in the beginning, I read a lot of minimalism literature that was written by guys, and I found it quite difficult to relate to as a woman, and you will have to let me know if you've experienced that. It also quite annoyed me that they were like seen as these, you know, real thought leaders in the field, when I've always had the opinion that I think women actually benefit more from the mindset of less but better, because I believe that we have more pressure put on us to do more, to be everything, to be perfect, to have it all nowadays. So yeah, I found it really, really useful to read anything on minimalism that was written by a female, and this book is no exception. Super beautiful, aesthetic focused, and yeah, I think you'll really enjoy this one. This is the book that started it all for me. This is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying by Marie Kondo, and this is my second copy of this book, because the first time that I read it, it changed my life so much. I literally decluttered 80% of the stuff that I owned, and then I moved on from the stuff and started on the non-physical things in my life. This well and truly kick-started my journey, and it is one that should be read by everyone, I would say. It's so good. It's so simple, so effective. I just, yeah, absolutely loved it. The only thing is it can get a little bit addictive. And I had a few issues with it, in that I wish I had determined my personal style before I kind of did a reset, but that was just the way that it worked out for me. I needed to hit that complete reset button, you know, wipe the slate clean, and then start to rebuild from there with intention. That's just my personal journey. But yeah, such a great book. I think I read it in about 2 days. I'm guessing, I don't know, I feel like most of us will have already read this. You'll have to let me know, but just to, for what it's worth, add my my love for it to all the amazing reviews that it has already had. It is just incredible. But yeah, I did actually declutter the first copy that I got, because I thought, well, I've done it now, you know, and it does say that you only have to tidy once or whatever, but I needed it on my shelf, and I still go back to it again and again. It is a firm favourite, and yeah, should be in any starter kit for simple living or minimalism or capsule wardrobes, or if you're just wanting to make your house clutter-free and more spacious. As I said, this vlog is very kindly sponsored by Skillshare, and is definitely in the theme, in the spirit of learning. I have absolutely loved Skillshare for years. They are an online learning community with thousands and thousands of classes to choose from. One of the best ones that I would recommend in terms of minimalism and slow living is Greg, and I never know how to pronounce his name properly, Greg McKeown. His course, which is all about productivity. His book, Essentialism, is one that I read in the beginning, written by a guy, but very, very good in terms of like the very logical side of why minimalism and doing less but better makes sense. And this course on productivity that he does is no exception. It's only 45 minutes long. It's super laser focused. You come away with so many tips and a really reframed mindset in terms of having to just realizing that you have a lot less to do than what you really think. So I would definitely recommend that class in the spirit of minimalism. But Skillshare wise, there is just so much available on there, and if you want to go and have a look, I will leave a link to a 1 month free trial for the first 1,000 people that sign up, so you can go give it a try, have a play around, and yeah, see what you find. Let me know what you think, let me know what you enjoy. The next one I did read as a paper, but I don't have the original because it is one that I passed on to someone else, which is something that I do with books quite a lot. I like to pass them on as much as possible and like just keep a really small, refined library at home. This book is written by one of my very best friends, and this is actually like how we became friends, because Kate sent me a copy of her book because she thought that I might enjoy it, and we were in the same kind of minimalism space in terms of blogging at that time. And her book, The Year of Less, is just absolutely incredible, and I think that you will really, really love it. It's available as hard copy, there's an audio book as well, or you can have it as an ebook. I love it because it's so focused. Like, it follows Kate's year of not buying. So she did a shopping ban for a year, paid off all of her debt, and documented the entire thing, from like the rules that she followed, how she found it, you know, the entire thing. And it's a fascinating journey. It's so beautifully written. I love the how-tos. I love those, and they definitely have a place in terms of learning. But my favourite kinds of books to read are always people's personal stories and people's personal struggles and how they have overcome those, and that is definitely what you get in The Year of Less. Kate is so vulnerable and generous in her writing. You feel like you're following her journey along with her, and I really, really love that. And I think when you have experienced someone's journey with them, it makes it easier for you to start your own and feel less alone in the struggles that you will probably face when you're trying to do the same thing, like change your emotional spending habits, spend less money. Maybe you're wanting to do a shopping ban yourself. I think reading how someone else has actually got on with it from an emotional point of view is so much more valuable than just a how-to, this is how you do this, and then you're kind of out there on your own. So yeah, it's an original, it's an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. She is a friend, so I'm gonna recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't mean it. I absolutely love this book, and I think you will too. Almost at the end, this one you wouldn't expect to be like a minimalism kind of book, but I just know how many of us are into interiors, and specifically not more minimalistic, I would say, but like definitely more intentional, slow living kind of interiors. So very intuitive led, considered design, beautiful spaces that are very simple but reflect our personal style. And for that reason, I'm going to recommend Happy Inside, which is by Michelle Ogundahin, who was editor of Elle Decor for years, and she does the what is that TV show called? Alan Carr presents it. I can't remember. Grand Design Masters, I think. Yeah, she presents that, and she sent me this book just before it came out to try to read it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And you can see, like, it's so marked, it's so like corners are down, all sorts. I go back to this so much. She takes you through her entire process of how to not just like design a space and arrange a space, but how to come up with colour schemes in detail. She talks about feng shui, she talks about energy, harmony, you know, all just so it goes so much further than declutter. She does talk about decluttering in here actually, and her approach is very interesting. It's slightly different to Marie Kondo's, but very, very interesting, and it is what works for her. And I think getting a design editor's opinion, she is just a queen at that kind of thing, is fascinating. It's a book that I thoroughly enjoyed, go back to again and again, and definitely one that I think you would enjoy, especially if you are a homeowner. And she gives renting tips in here as well if you can't change everything. And I love how, like, it doesn't encourage you to spend loads and loads of money on renovations. It's about working with what you've got. Like, one of the lines that really stands out to me from this book is you already have so much more light and space than you think, but that's what we think we always need more of. So yeah, really, really good book. The last one, I can't recommend books on simple living, slow living, minimalism without shamelessly self-promoting my own. I actually I only have one hard copy of my book. And I left it in Cornwall on purpose because, like I said, I like to pass books on. So I'm left with the pre-copy. This was the one that was sent out to like other publishers, writers, bookstagrammers, bloggers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is my book. If you don't already know about it, this is Enough, which is a mix, I guess, of how-tos and also my personal journey, but it focuses more on my personal journey. And the way that I describe it is it's learning to simplify life, let go, and walk the path that is truly ours. And I will leave a link to that if you want to find out more about it. I have that self-promotion thing where I struggle to talk about it and say how amazing I think it is. But I just wanted to turn the lights on with it and let you know that it is there, and I'll leave a link to it if you want to find out more about it and read more about my own personal journey. But hopefully you found that useful. It's given you a few to try. I know that like Christmas, holidays and stuff are coming up, and I know a lot of us like to put books on our wish list, and especially with like New Year coming up as well. I know that's a really popular time for us to start making big life changes, so it felt like a good time to go through these books. But let me know if you've read any of them. Let me know if you do read any of them, what you think. Yeah, I'd be really, really curious to know. And again, a big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this vlog. I will leave a link to that free trial that I told you about in case you want to give that a go. But hopefully you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you soon.